Hi, Capricorn. It's Denise with Divine Soul Astrology. Today, I am here to discuss the transit or the ingress of Uranus entering Gemini. All right. So, Uranus will enter Gemini at 0 degrees. It's on April 26th, and that will happen at 8:51 8:51 p.m. and that's universal time. So please check for your time. If you're on the West Coast, it's a pretty easy thing. It's 1:51 p.m. All right. And so change is definitely in the air during Uranus's stay in Gemini, Cancer, Capricorn. I beg your pardon. Um, but when it does go into Gemini, right, which is coming up, and the chart is here, it will have a brief stay in Cancer and then it will move back into Gemini. And that will be, Uranus's, the majority will be in Gemini, of course. All right, to finish out that transit. Uranus is a lightning bolt, Capricorn. All right, it's electric, it's eclectic, it's sudden change, innovation, liberation, and much more. Uranus disrupts, liberates, and will leave us permanently changed. So Uranus wants us to remove outdated structures and call for new methods of communication, new technological advances, and breakthroughs and breakaways. Yeah, it wants us to break away from whatever is outdated, whatever, it was great in the past, it's no longer any good, right? And this is why it is associated with social change, but not only that, just innovation and change itself, new inventions and things like that. So Uranus will be in Gemini, the sign of communication, ideas, goals, and skills. This is also, it can be about the familiar, siblings, extended family, and early childhood. That is what, Gemini, the third house that Gemini rules, right? So it still can be about those themes, really. Um, and also, short distance travel and things like that. And when we say the familiar, it's anything you do on a regular basis, right? You go to the same gym, you've been going there for 5 years, you go to the same coffee shop. That's the familiar. It is also maybe the neighborhood or the local community, right? So there we have that. And of course, all this we'll discuss um, for you, Capricorn, for Sun, Moon, and Rising Capricorn, what house it will be in for you. What house Uranus is entering into, because that's where the action happens, right? The house, that's where things take place. So this will not be your own. It will be, this is mundane astrology, but so I'm not able to see your own chart, but there is still a lot of truth with these horoscopes. There sure is, right? So if you'd like to get your own reading based on your own natal chart, then, I mean, that is the ideal for you, right? For sure it is. So Gemini is an air element, right? And it is mutable and masculine. So we have powerful Uranus coming in to upset things, to create innovation, um, right, and progress. And it's, entering a sign that is masculine and also mutable or changeable, right, moldable. So it is very, and that's what Uranus wants. Uranus wants you to be kind of like a little bit adaptive. So, hey, if you don't like it, then it's just tough toenails. That's how that works. Because Uranus will come in like the tower and create instability. So something is just toppled over. That's really what Uranus is about, right? And we could see, change in air travel, aeronautics, computer technology, wind technology, and AI. We're likely going to enjoy new inventions, faster and more efficient devices or electronics. The way we communicate with others, especially those who live at a distance, will change and improve. The method to exchange ideas will also see upgrades, and collective paradigms will shift. Uranus is associated with Aquarius, which is, can be associated with social change in the future and things like that. So, yeah, and Uranus will encourage independence and freedom to break away from conventional or traditional limitations. So Uranus is often called the rebel, right? And the last time Uranus was in Gemini was in 1941. Yes, it was in Gemini last year for a short time, but I mean for its full transit, right? So it was in, and the transit is 7 years. It is. So, around seven, sometimes 7.5. But the last time it was in Gemini was in 1941 to 1949. And that is when uh, Japan launched a surprise attack on the United States on Pearl Harbor, which is in Hawaii. So, and that is what Uranus is about. It is about the unexpected and the sudden. So, it makes us kind of wonder what, Uranus will be up to in the next 7 years, right? So Capricorn and this yeah, Uranus is happening excuse me, not happening, but Uranus is taking place in your sixth house of daily affairs. This is your lifestyle, your routines, your obligations, everything you do during in the course of a day. These are your daily practical matters, also your health and your work, because those are daily practical matters too, really. Yeah. Also small pets, if we want to include that for sure. So that's where Uranus is. And so, yeah, we have I don't know why this is like this here. Oh, okay. So, yeah. And so also, yeah, and Mercury is the ruler of Uranus, right? As long as Uranus has to abide by Mercury's rules because it's in Mercury's home, right? So Uranus here also, this rules not Uranus, but Gemini or Mercury rather rules your sixth house. It also rules your ninth house of higher purpose. So there could be something that's very important to you, Capricorn, that has to do with your higher purpose, right? Your expansion, your growth, and things that are, helping you to be wiser, right? As you grow, right? Or, as you live. So we have that going on. And we also have this Mercury, right? Here's Mercury right here. And Mercury is in your fourth house of emotional needs and home and family. This is a mind-body kind of connection here when we see the fourth house. The fourth house also represents the past. But it is, yeah. And so the emotional needs, maybe there is something going on there for you because Uranus can take us out of something that maybe emotionally wasn't good for us, right? Or good for our emotional stability, something like that. Or making us, feeling the fourth house of emotional needs is also just where we feel safe, right? It doesn't have to be, oh, I have to have that, emotionally need it. But something that kind of makes us feel safe and kind of grounded. That is the fourth house. So Mercury is sitting there. Yes, it is. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Mercury, though. And so here we have, right, the ruler of the ingress of Uranus, right? And so here we have Mercury, and it is squaring Jupiter. Jupiter is in your seventh house of relating to others. So, there maybe something is changing here, but this is asking you, this is also the seventh house of business and partnerships, any type of partnerships. It's the house where we create harmony and balance. So, Mercury is about how we communicate. It sure is. So maybe, with partners, any type of business partners, romantic partners, what have you, or just other people in your life, anybody you have a relationship with. You don't have to have a serious or a business relationship, just a relationship, right? Maybe you are communicating in a different way. You may see something about yourself, about maybe your own emotional needs that is challenging here, or this is home and family possibly as well, right? Family members and things like that. But that is challenging you to see the big picture and, allow growth and transformation with Jupiter right there in your seventh house. All right. So, and that's what Uranus is trying to do. It's trying to bring not growth and transformation in exactly that sense, but innovation and progress. So, which really to me is, it can be because it's explained in a way, sort of, it is kind of put in the way of, social or the collective. But Uranus will affect us on a personal level as well, for sure it will. And right, we're talking about it right now. All right. So, and we also have Mercury is trining here, trining Black Moon Lilith in your second house of well-being and self-worth. This is also your house of, excuse me, Capricorn, I have to get water here. This is also um, your house of finance. So there's something here that has to do with you're overcoming something. Maybe, it can have to do with your own well-being, right? It's possible, but it's also you're seeing something about yourself and you're like you're overcoming it. And this trine here is supporting that because this is the shadow side down here. It's also in, the sign of philosophy, expansion, and growth. So and we saw the same thing, the square to Jupiter. So, you're growing here. Yeah, you're growing in some type of way that is supporting your own well-being. Yeah, it's a good thing. So, and also we have the Mercury. Mars is also doing the squaring to Jupiter. Mars is saying, just do it. Just do it and step into something new. Or do it a new way maybe because that's what Uranus wants us to do things and in a new way, like like with innovation. So here we have Mars, and it is squaring this Pluto as well. Mars is saying, you know what, I need something new, and Mars is in your. This is your fourth house, I believe. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, your fourth house of emotional needs. So yeah, Mars is just saying, you need this. You need this for yourself, kind of. It's in the house of self, but squaring Jupiter, it's telling you to see the big picture and have courage and take action on something, or step it into in a new way, possibly, right? This is in your seventh house of business and partnerships, any type of partnerships, all right? The way you relate to others possibly could be a little different in the next 7 years, right? And so, yes, and so we have that. And we also have Venus supporting Uranus. And Venus is the only one there, and Venus is associated to loyalty. I find that kind of cool there. But Venus is supporting your, Uranus there in your sixth house of daily affairs and your work and your health, possibly, right? Whatever this is related to something very practical, in your life, right? Of course. But here we have Venus. Venus also rules your fifth house of love and sex and creative self-expression, and that's where the sun lives. So right now, the sun is in Taurus in your fifth house. So when we see that, Venus, this is supporting your sense of self, your self-identity, your self-expression. There's something here, Capricorn, that you are like, and it's in another earth sign, the sun at the time. So, this is something that is supporting you and kind of, upgrading your sense of self. You're feeling better about yourself, right? And this can also be saying, with Uranus moving into the sixth house of practical daily affairs, that just kind of let it happen. Don't, or just go with, Uranus takes a little bit of courage because it can happen to us, right? So when it happens, this kind of change, we have to have a little bit of courage. And so Venus is here supporting your well-being. It is about self-worth as well. And yeah, and so, Venus is supporting that. And so I don't think I've talked about this yet because I've already lost my notes over here, kind of lost track of where they were, right? Which, but in your second house is Pluto, the planet of transformation. It's also the planet of crises. So, Uranus is trining that. Maybe something has to happen here for kind of a big wake up. Uranus can also represent wake ups, like spiritual breakthroughs, that type of a wake up, right? A breakthrough. And so here we have this in your sixth house of, daily affairs, and it is trining Pluto, and that is in your second house of well-being and self-worth. There's a big change for you here, and that trine is supporting you. It's not trying to, challenge you like with these squares that we see here, right, in the chart. So here, this is supporting your well-being, supporting transformation for you, supporting change. And it is definitely doing it. So that's a good thing here. Um, Venus is ruling your 10th house of career. So look at that. So maybe, something about your career can be kind of upgraded. Remember, I was talking about the seventh house. This can be business over here where Jupiter sits. This can be business partnerships or, associated with your career, possibly. So Uranus, that trine to Pluto, it's an air trine, which talks about like, this is in a fixed sign. So when Pluto's in a fixed sign, there's something lasting transformation over here. Yeah, Aquarius is a fixed sign. All right. So we also have Uranus and it is sextiling Neptune right here. So this sextile can, it could put you into a more spiritual place in your life. That's a possibility. But this is in your fifth house of your sense of self. Let's go ahead and make sure I'm in the right house here. This is your fourth house. Wow, I beg your pardon, Capricorn. This is your fourth house of emotional needs, where or your family, but your foundation, what makes you feel safe. But Mercury is there telling you that, with Uranus here coming in, nothing's really safe, right? It's like, but in and we have Venus supporting you in that seventh house. So, this here, the fourth house here, where we have your house of emotional needs, really, or home and family, or this is the place too where you make decisions or whatever is keeping you to keep you safe or to keep you grounded, to keep you well. That is the fourth house. So you also, over here, this sextile between Uranus and Neptune is from your sixth house of daily affairs, work, and health, and it is sextiling Neptune in your fourth house of emotional needs. So there's some type of change here that will happen, or it could be it could be Uranus doesn't leave us feeling like, oh, that's great, that change is great, and oh, wow, I'm changing, I'm growing, and I can feel the progress. No, it doesn't always. It doesn't usually, hit us that way. It hits us kind of like, we could say when Pearl Harbor was attacked by Japan, right? It can hit you that way, right? So, yeah. So when we have this Uranus with Pluto, not Pluto, but with the sextile, this is like an opportunity that you kind of have to engage in, um, right? Where this can support you. This can support your ideals and your visions, really, right? If you it kind of go along with the flow of Uranus in Gemini, and that's a good thing. It's an immutable sign, so it will be easier for a lot of us to go through this change or this innovation, which can be related to our independence and our freedom during the next 7 years. And for some of us, it can hit us very like, boom. But for some of us, it can be gradual. It can. You could have a spiritual breakthrough here as well with this fourth house here, and you might be understanding here that possibly either how in your daily, I beg your pardon here, yeah, the sixth house, let me get back to this here. Yeah, the sixth house right here where Uranus sits, you could be seeing that maybe, a new job. You might want not want the same type of a job, right? This is the sixth house of practical affairs and your work and your health. You might not want that. And also, you might want a new job, a whole different job, maybe where you have more freedom and independence. And here is, as I was saying earlier, here is Mercury, not Mercury, but Venus supporting that, okay? Venus is it rules your fifth house of self-expression, as I was saying earlier. But this sextile, and this can be about your creativity, this Neptune here about ideals, dreams, and visions, and things like that. This is your intuition as well. So trust your intuition, Capricorn, as deal with the transit of Uranus in your chart, all right? So, Mercury rules your house. I was talking about this a little bit earlier. Mercury rules your ninth house. Where is your ninth house here? Right here, your ninth house of higher purpose. And we have the sun coming from your fifth house of self-expression. The sun rules self-expression anyway, your sense of self, and it is trining this moon here. So this is the divine feminine and the divine masculine coming together. It's almost like a new moon, sort of, but not exactly. But this is supportive from your fifth house of self-expression. It is also your house of love and sex and children and, your talents. Yeah. And so believe in your talents, Capricorn, because you might want to get a new job, right? And as the astrology may be suggesting, but you have that sun trining the moon. The moon is in your ninth house of higher purpose. So whatever's going on for you at the, is like supporting this higher purpose and your sense of self. Okay. Because here's the sun sitting in its like favorite house, the fifth house. All right. Um, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So let's see what else we have. Um, yeah. And you may want to live a whole different lifestyle as well. I think I was hitting on that. I think I was talking about that in the beginning. All right. So I'm going to end this reading, Capricorn. I hope you've enjoyed my content. If so, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the little bell, and I'll be back with another video. And if you want a reading with me, check out the description box. My website is there. I'm going to be lowering the prices. In fact, they're lower, but I haven't noted that on the website. So email me if you see me a reading. They're being lowered kind of significantly there. So if you see a reading there that, they're all really helpful. They're all really fascinating. They are to help you grow into your true potential. You could be saying, I'm already doing that, but it shows you so many things in your chart. And I'm approaching the chart from a more empowering way, a more healing kind of overcoming. And yeah, I am. And this is what the North Node is doing in our chart. Right here, the North Node, this is what the chart wants for us, our higher purpose and our best selves. So it's an awesome thing. So yeah, if you want to get one of those readings, check out the description box. Just email me and I will tell you, yeah, it's at this other great price. I just haven't gotten around to it yet lately. Not lately, but yet. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Hit the little bell so you can be notified of my next upload. Thank you so much, Capricorn, for joining me today.